Heaven sent Archangel Michael with a sword in one hand and a blessing in the other. But what you did decided which one you receive. The heavens stood still. Not a single whisper passed through the veil of eternity. It was the night of decision, the hour when silence itself became a divine measurement. No trumpets sounded. No angels sang. But the throne room turned its gaze toward the earth. Every heart was weighed. Every motive was measured. What you thought no one saw, heaven recorded. And what you thought would never matter became the pivot on which your next season would turn. There was a treble in the unseen, a disruption in the atmosphere. Something was coming, not loud but heavy, not chaotic but consequential. A shift moved through the spiritual realm like thunder without sound. And from that eternal stillness, he was sent, Archangel Michael, commander of the armies of heaven, the warrior of divine light. But he did not descend in fury. He came in discernment, bearing two outcomes, held in either hand, a sword in his right, and a blessing in his left. This message is not for all. This is not for the spectators, the mockers, or the lukewarm. No, this message is a spiritual summons for the tested, the watched, the silently judged. It is for those who cried in private but walked in obedience. For those who were tempted to retaliate, but chose instead to retreat and trust. For those who were provoked, betrayed, ignored, and still remained faithful when heaven seemed silent. This word is for you. The sword and the blessing were not random. They were not cruel. They were symbols of divine consequence, heaven's answer to human choice. For some, prayer became a performance while the heart plotted rebellion. For others, their tears were sincere, and their silence was obedience. You may have thought the silence from heaven meant delay or disinterest. But the silence was a stage, a desert, a sacred pause that separated the faithful from the false, the pure from the prideful, the surrendered from the stubborn. You were not overlooked. You were being watched. And now, the line has been drawn. Michael stands before the souls of men, not to punish, but to reveal. The sword will strike where deception was disguised as devotion. The blessing will fall where humility was chosen over pride. And as you listen to this message, something in your spirit will bear witness, because you already know which one is in motion toward you. The time of silent testing is over. Now comes heaven's response. The sword or the blessing, which did your choices summon? Type "I receive what heaven saw me choose" in the comments if this word is for you. Blessing code 717 is now surrounding you. In the next few hours, the balance tips, says the Spirit of the living God. Time, as you know it, has already begun to bow to the command of eternity. What you feel around you, the unease, the pressure, the silence, is not random. It is divine preparation. For the heavens have dispatched one not merely as a messenger, but as an instrument of holy decision. Archangel Michael stands upon the earth, and in his right hand is a sword, in his left, a blessing, but neither are given at random. They are placed, assigned, directed by what you did in the silence. Michael does not come without weight. He arrives in full radiant authority, bathed in armor not forged by man, but by the fire of heaven's justice. His sword, it glows with divine fire, not of rage, but of righteousness. It does not cut to kill, it cuts to divine. It separates pride from purity, ego from obedience, hidden rebellion from disguised surrender. And in his other hand, in that left hand, there is a blessing so weighty, so holy, it can only be released into the hands of those who passed heaven's secret test. You didn't know it was a test, did you? You thought no one saw what you endured in silence. The disrespect, the misunderstanding, the betrayal. But heaven saw. Angels recorded every word you refused to speak in anger, every tear you shed in surrender, every moment you wanted to strike back but instead stood still. You weren't being ignored. You were being watched and weighed. And now, the time of exposure is at hand. The Spirit says, what was whispered in darkness will be measured in the light. Heaven is not coming to expose you. Heaven is coming to reveal the difference between those who appeared faithful and those who were faithful when no one else was watching. This message, make no mistake, is not for everyone. It is for the remnant. It is for the awakened. It is for those who sense the trembling in their spirit and recognize that something holy is happening beneath the surface of their current chaos. You feel the wind shifting. That's not coincidence. That is the wind of divine reckoning. The air is charged. The atmosphere is swollen with anticipation. The hosts of heaven are poised, and the Spirit is saying, choose now. Not next week. Not next season. Not when things are easier or clearer. Now. For by sunrise the unseen shall manifest. What you did in private will speak in public. The sword will strike what was hidden in darkness, and the blessing will fall like rain on the faithful. This moment, this hour, is not just another prophetic utterance. This is a divine summons. You are being pulled into alignment, into awareness, into awakening. You are not being threatened. You are being prepared. Michael has not come to destroy. He has come to divide. And the dividing line runs through every heart, every motive, every hidden intention. It is time to decide, not with your lips, but with your life. You stand now at a spiritual threshold, and heaven waits. Will your next move summon the sword or unlock the blessing? Type I choose the blessing in the comments if this word is yours. Blessing code 555 is surrounding your house right now. You felt it before you understood it. The air shifted. The room changed. Faces that once welcomed you began to turn away. Conversations grew colder. Glances became guarded. And suddenly, you found yourself standing in the middle of a storm you couldn't explain. The ones who once clapped for you now questioned you. The ones who once prayed with you now whispered about you. They knew something about you, but they didn't know what heaven saw in you. And you wondered, did I do something wrong? But you did something right. You remained loyal while being misjudged. You remained silent while rumors rose. And though you wrestled with the confusion, your spirit stayed anchored. At unease, that shaking in your emotions, it was not weakness. It was spiritual discernment screaming beneath the noise. You were not paranoid. You were being prepared. Heaven was revealing the truth, not through words but through atmosphere. You were caught in the mystery of divine exposure, a holy unraveling of false coverings. What you once called friendship was never covenant. What you once called loyalty was always conditional. And the Spirit allowed the silence, the distance, the strange withdrawal, not to punish you, but to position you. For God is not cruel, but He is precise. Before the blessing could be released, the deception around you had to be removed. And before the sword could be sheathed, the hidden betrayal had to be exposed. There is something sacred happening beneath your emotional distress. Do not curse the shaking. It is heaven removing what cannot go with you into the next. You have mistaken this shaking for abandonment, but it is alignment. You cried because you were misunderstood, but heaven smiled because you were becoming. Every false comfort is being removed. Every surface connection is being cut. And all the while, the Spirit whispers, I'm still with you. Do you understand now why the sword is in Michael's hand? Not to cut you, but to cut you free. The pain you feel is the separation from what no longer serves your purpose. The loneliness you endure is not a punishment. It is a sanctuary where heaven prepares the next chapter of your calling. They dove, they twisted, they turned, but you held your peace. And that, beloved, was your proof of readiness. You are not crumbling. You are being carved. You are not rejected. You are being refined. And in the Spirit, a separation has taken place. Those who could not discern your purity were never meant to witness your promotion. Heaven saw the tears you never told anyone about. Heaven heard the sighs in your sleep. You've been grieving the loss of connections that were never covenant. But now, the sword has done its work. The next move is heaven's. You passed the test by not defending yourself. You gained approval by standing still. And now, the hand that holds the blessing begins to lift. Type "I was tested and found faithful" in the comments. Blessing code 888 is now activated over your discernment. If this message is reaching into the private places of your spirit, it's because this word is alive. Souls are waking up. Hearts are being delivered from deception. And the mission is not to build a platform, but to build the kingdom. When you sow into this word, you're not supporting a channel. You're releasing oil that flows into the lives of thousands who need it. As the word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." But today, it shall return as confirmation, not just compensation. I feel led to say this. Your obedience to give in this moment will break delay in someone else's life. If the Spirit is stirring you, respond boldly. Support the mission through Super Thanks, YouTube membership, or PayPal. The link is in the video description. Let your giving today be like seed thrown into prophetic soil. Release it, and watch heaven release back. This battle, it was never about what it looked like on the surface. It was never about them. It was never about the rumors, the delays, the missed calls, the blocked doors, or the broken trust. The conflict you found yourself in was spiritual from the start. You thought you were fighting disappointment, rejection, and betrayal, but in truth, you were walking through a divine clash over your destiny. The attacks were not random. They were reactionary. Reactionary to the light in you. Reactionary to the calling over you. Reactionary to the purpose that hell could sense before you could articulate. And in that unseen realm, Michael was sent. Not just to fight for you, but to declare over you, "This one belongs to heaven." The presence of Archangel Michael is a spiritual alarm, a thunderous declaration that God has stepped into the fight, not to take sides but to take over. And when heaven takes over, the natural cannot explain the outcome. When Michael descends, it's not simply to destroy the plans of the enemy. It's to expose the truth of your positioning. You were not being attacked because you were weak. You were being targeted because you are chosen. Every fiery dart thrown at you passed through divine permission. Every season of confusion, every delay, every miscommunication, it was filtered by God. Heaven knew what you could handle, and God was not testing your emotions. He was testing your alignment. Would you remain still when misunderstood? Would you stay silent when falsely accused? Would you choose the cross over the crown? These were not losses. These were measurements. You were being weighed, and now you are being revealed. The sword in Michael's hand was not raised against you. It was raised for you. Not to cut you down, but to cut you free from wrong alignments, toxic dependencies, and subtle soul ties that were strangling your spiritual clarity. He cut away every vine that looked like support but was secretly draining you. He removed attachments that felt good but weren't God. What felt like loss was preservation. What felt like betrayal was protection. You were never rejected, you were covered. And your reactions, oh, heaven was watching your reactions. Would you curse them? You didn't. Would you expose them? You didn't. You let them walk. You stayed still. You chose honor when you could have chosen retaliation. And then choice. With a key. That silence became your yes. That restraint became your innocence. And that's why Michael came, not with judgment, but with witness, to divide between those who spoke kingdom and those who lived it. Now, hear the Spirit clearly. You are not under correction. You are under refinement. The fire didn't come to punish you. It came to purify what was pure and burn off what wasn't. The tears you cried became water for your next harvest. The silence you kept became the trumpet blast in heaven that declared, "This one is ready." And as you stand in this very moment, the line is no longer in front of you. You've crossed it. The sword has done its work. Now the blessing is being weighed in heaven's balance. But the Spirit still whispers, your future is decided by your response, not your feelings. Type "I am chosen." I held my peace in the comments. Blessing code 441 is now released upon your household. Within 72 hours, something will shift. Heaven has already written the appointment. Time is moving toward a divine collision. You may not see it yet in the natural, but the spiritual realm is vibrating with urgency. Something hidden is about to rise, not to destroy you, but to test you again. This is not a repeat of your last battle. This is a final measurement. This is a weight in the scales of heaven. The sword or the blessing, both still hang in balance. Not because heaven is undecided, but because heaven is watching your next response. Someone is making a move behind the scenes. A conversation is taking place where your name is being mentioned. Not all of it is wicked, but not all of it is pure. Here's a testing coming, a pressure that will tempt your emotions to respond from the flesh instead of the spirit. But this time, you must not react. You must not explain. You must not defend. Heaven says, stand still again, for this time the battle is mine. You are standing in what the Spirit calls a prophetic crossroad, a place where a single choice determines an entire season. What you do next will either activate angelic movement or attract unnecessary delay. Do not assume that because you've endured the previous tests, this one will be easy. It won't be. It will be subtle. It will feel familiar. It will provoke an old wound. And it will come through someone you once trusted. The enemy doesn't waste new weapons when old ones still work. But this time, you must not play into the trap. This isn't just spiritual warfare. This is divine filtration. Heaven is filtering your environment again. Not because you failed, but because you've grown. Your discernment has matured. Your obedience has become refined. The pressure you feel now is not because you're off track, it's because you're on time. And when you're on time in the Spirit, the enemy tries to distract you with unfinished business from your past. But don't answer the call. Don't revisit the argument. Don't reopen the door. Archangel Michael still stands, and he watches, not just your adversaries, but you. The sword in his right hand is not yet raised. The blessing in his left is not yet poured out. They wait. Not because heaven is indecisive, but because you are being trusted to make the final move. And that move is not a physical action. It's a heart posture. Will you stay low in humility? Will you surrender the need to be seen? Will you let heaven vindicate you one more time? If you act out of emotion, the sword may move, not in destruction, but in delay. If you move in humility, the blessing will fall, and it will come quickly, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The next 72 hours are not just natural time, they are spiritual portals. What you decide here opens something there. So choose wisely. The Spirit says, hold your peace and let me reveal my hand. Let restraint be your weapon. Let silence be your agreement with heaven. The crossroad demands a stillness that looks like weakness to man but is authority in the Spirit. You are not being asked to fight. You are being asked to yield. And in that yielding, you will receive what cannot be earned by flesh, only granted by favor. The sword or the blessing, they are both before you. But what you do next decides which one you'll receive. Type "I will not be moved" in the comments if you're walking humbly through this crossroad. Blessing code 911 is covering your next 72 hours. Be still, says the Spirit, for heaven fights when you don't. This is not the hour to explain. This is not the moment to plead your case. Your defense is not required when divine strategy is in motion. Silence is not surrender. It is sacred agreement with the armies of God. In this hour, stillness is your shield, and your restraint is heaven's permission to act on your behalf. You are not being abandoned. You are being covered. You have been feeling the fire rise around you, the tension, the distractions, the pressure to respond. But let this word anchor you. Not everything deserves your reaction. Not every accusation deserves an answer. Heaven's strategy in this season is not noise. It is withdrawal. Pull back from the chaos. Retreat into the secret place. Because what's coming next is not won by words, it is won by spiritual posture. And your posture must be one of trust, not performance. Rest, not retaliation. Michael is not standing still because he is uncertain. He stands because he is assigned. And angels do not move until obedience has reached full maturity. Right now, the sword is drawn, but it is not swinging. The blessing is ready, but it is not yet released. Because the final layer of your test is this: can you trust God's timing when your name is being twisted? Can you stay hidden when your spirit craves justice? Can you let heaven defend you, even when the evidence is against you in the eyes of men? The Spirit says, withdraw. Come into the secret place and let me work. That's not retreat, it's repositioning. The battlefield is now the prayer room. The weapon is no longer your voice. It's your quiet obedience. The angels have already been dispatched. Warfare has already been engaged. But your only role now is to remain in agreement with heaven. Don't talk yourself out of what's already been decreed in your favor. Don't let fear reopen doors that God closed in wisdom. You are not losing ground. You are gaining clarity. Every step backward is heaven pushing you into shelter. Every closed mouth is a trumpet in the spirit realm. Every moment you choose not to respond is a signal to the enemy that you are no longer controlled by flesh. You are governed by faith now, and that faith is making room for divine protection, for miraculous intervention, for the sudden movement of God in your favor. Speak less. Pray more. Watch deeply. The ground is moving, but your feet are held by the hand of God. Your silence is not empty, it's loud in heaven. It is the language of trust. It is the strategy of the remnant. And those who endure in silence will see public victory birthed from private surrender. Repeat it now with power. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Let that be your shield. Let that be your anthem. Because even now, angels surround your home, your name, your next step. You are not exposed. You are hidden in glory. You are not alone. You are accompanied by divine forces. What they said about you cannot cancel what heaven spoke over you. Stay silent. Stay steady. Stay submitted. Because when heaven moves, it won't be partial, it will be complete. And what rises after this silence will silence every false witness against you. Be still, says heaven again. Your stillness is your seal. Type "I am held in heaven's silence" in the comments if you receive this instruction. Lesson code 4414 is wrapping around your home like fire. You are not who they thought you were, and you are no longer who you once believed yourself to be. Something has changed you, not just around you, within you. The silence shaped you. A betrayal built you. The crushing didn't end you. It elevated you. You thought you were breaking, but in truth, you were being reassembled into something more powerful than your past could ever predict. This is not just recovery. This is divine transformation. You've grown wings where you once had wounds. What once wounded you no longer defines you. The names they called you no longer echo in your mind. The rooms you were pushed out of no longer hold your identity. You were counted out, but heaven was counting differently. While they whispered your downfall, God was preparing your rebirth. You did just survive. You were refined. The fire that came to consume you only burned away what was never supposed to remain. And now, you are no longer standing in the place of testing. You are standing in the place of transition. Something sacred has shifted. You are crossing into the territory of empowerment. This is the realm where heaven not only watches, but releases. And Michael, the Archangel who once stood with a sword in one hand and a blessing in the other, now moves. The sword is no longer drawn against you. It is drawn for you. And the blessing, it hovers, ready to fall, because the weight of your obedience has made you ready. There's a different look in your eyes now. A new oil flows from your words. The same people who ignored your tears will now witness your triumph. Not because you need revenge, but because heaven remembers. You are stepping into a season where your pain will become your mantle. Your trials will become your testimony. Your isolation has crowned you in authority. The one who was hidden is now being handed the scroll. Heaven is calling your endurance approved. You have become what the enemy feared, unshakable. The lies didn't break you. The delay didn't kill your faith. The silence didn't destroy your hope. You endured. And now you rise. You rise with insight. You rise with discernment. You rise with the sword that once terrified you, now carried as a symbol of victory. It no longer swings to test you. It now shines as proof that you passed the test. Michael is no longer standing to divide. He is now walking beside you as a guardian. He does not lead the battle alone anymore. You have been grafted into heaven's strategy. What you carry now is not simply survival. It is strategy. What you speak now is not just healing. It is authority. You've been promoted in the spirit. And everything that tried to silence you will now witness your activation. Don't look back. Don't apologize for your growth. Don't shrink for their comfort. You've been entrusted with power because you first learned how to surrender. This empowerment is not pride. It's not self-will. It is heaven's reward for hidden endurance. You stayed true when no one clapped. You held your peace when no one believed. And now, the robe has changed. The ring has been placed. The crown is spiritual, and it fits. This is your moment of empowerment. Not earned, not bought, but given by the hand of God. Type I rise with authority in the comments if you feel this shift. Blessing code 2211 is now flowing through your hands. This was never about punishment. It was never about God being angry with you, nor heaven trying to break you down. This was about preparation, about proving, about perfecting. What you thought was a season of abandonment was, in truth, a season of alignment for assignment. Every delay was a classroom. Every betrayal was a lesson. Every moment of silence was a prophetic stage where heaven watched to see what would remain standing when everything else was stripped away. And you are still standing. This battle did not come to destroy your identity. It came to reveal it. You were never weak. You were never forgotten. You were never ordinary. The warfare was never about where you were. It was always about where you were headed. God was testing your heart for leadership, testing your motives for promotion, testing your posture for authority. The fight wasn't about what you were losing. It was about what you were being positioned to carry. And now, as the warfare begins to break, the revelation begins to pour. The Spirit says, this is your unlocking. What was once sealed is now being opened. What was delayed is now being delivered. The warfare has ended because the war has been won. You did not win by fighting harder. You won by bowing lower. You did not overcome by force. You overcame by faith. And now, heaven is declaring over you. Access granted. You have been approved for the next level of favor, authority, and visibility. The weight you carried in private is about to be matched by the weight of glory God places upon you in public. Michael's descent was not merely about protection, it was about announcement. His appearance in your spirit, his stirring in your dreams, his presence in your warfare, was heaven's way of signaling the end of one era and the emergence of another. The sword has finished separating. The blessing is no longer waiting. The gates are opening. And now your name is known. Not just by man, but by angels. Not just by those who doubted you, but by those who will be assigned to serve the vision God has placed in you. The betrayal was a setup. The delay was a disguise. The fire was a forge. And you are heaven's vessel marked for demonstration. You passed the test not because you were perfect, but because you stayed surrendered. That surrender has become your seal. And now, favor that was once withheld is being released. Doors that were once closed are being summoned to swing open. People that overlooked you will now seek you out. But the elevation will not be for applause, it will be for assignment. You are stepping into a season of revealed favor. What was hidden in you is now being revealed through you. The anointing that once attracted warfare will now draw divine partnerships. The clarity you cried for is now your mantle. And the peace you begged for in the midnight hour is now your pathway. Heaven is not just moving around you, it is moving through you. Stand tall, not in pride, but in awareness. You are not who you are, you are who God has called you to be. And nothing, no word, no curse, no delay, can cancel what has now been revealed. Type my favor has been unlocked in the comments if this word is your confirmation. Blessing code 3333 is now resting over your name. When prophetic revelation comes like this, it is not entertainment. It is eternal alignment. This word is not about a video. It is about your victory. It is about waking up the weary, restoring the broken, and lifting the chosen out of hidden battles into divine purpose. When you support this ministry, you're not just giving, you're sowing into soil soaked with breakthrough. I declare over every giver, your seed is your signal to heaven. The same favor that found this message will find your house. Stand with us in this mission. You can support through Super Thanks, YouTube membership, or by planting a seed via PayPal. The link is in the video description. Don't delay. There is an atmosphere over this moment. Let your giving prophecy your agreement. Heaven is moving. Move with it. This is the moment where decisions become decrees, where your agreement with heaven is not just internal, it becomes activated in action. The warfare has come to an end, the testing has been completed, and now the Spirit says, speak and move, for this is the hour of your divine activation. The blessing is not passive, in prophetic, and it does not fall where there is hesitation. It rests on those who move with intention. Heaven is no longer waiting to see what you will survive. Heaven is watching what you'll choose. The days of crying for clarity are over. The clouds have parted. The angelic presence is strong around you, and the sword that once divided now stands as your covenant weapon. Michael no longer guards you as a test subject. He now stands beside you as a commissioned witness. Your name has been spoken in the courts of heaven, and the scroll has been unsealed. Declare now with authority, I align with heaven's will, because that declaration is more than a sentence. It's a signal. When you speak it, angels move. When you own it, destiny shifts. Your yes is not just spiritual, it is strategic. It releases the angels assigned to finalize what God has promised over you. Delayed blessings are being uncorked. Bound assignments are being released. All of heaven is waiting for you to walk into the fullness of your agreement. Purpose does not beg. Purpose does not chase. Purpose waits and then moves in divine timing. You are no longer in a holding pattern. You are in the deployment zone. Your next move must come with clarity, not confusion. This is the hour where obedience unlocks overflow, where faith initiates favor, and where small steps produce supernatural movement. Do not mistake this as just another encouraging moment. This is a commissioning. This is the point in the Spirit where heaven says, enough watching, now act. You don't need more confirmation. You are the confirmation. The very warfare you walked through has qualified you. The humility you chose has licensed you. And now, you must act. Speak destiny over your own life. Prophecy alignment. Announce movement. Don't wait for a sign in the sky. Become the sign that others will follow. What you declare, you will walk in. What you honor, you will attract. What you release will return multiplied. Purpose is not passive, it's participatory. You don't just receive it, you respond to it. No more delay. No more wondering. No more second guessing. This is the hour where the blessing falls like a mantle, but only on those bold enough to move when heaven whispers, now. Can you feel it? That tightness in your chest, that stirring in your spirit, that is the divine push of destiny saying, rise and walk, rise and declare, rise and act. Heaven is waiting, but not for long. This is not about perfection, it's about participation. Your future will not be decided by what you hope for. It will be decided by what you move toward. Let your yes be loud in the Spirit. Let your obedience thunder through the unseen realm. Because every step you take now is writing the next chapter of your story, and heaven has already titled it, Fulfillment. Type my destiny is activated in the comments if this word is yours. Blessing code 1717 is moving through your steps. There are moments in life where everything around you seems still, quiet, unchanged, but in the Spirit, transactions are happening that your mind cannot yet perceive. And this is one of those moments. While you sleep, heaven speaks. While you weep, heaven writes. While you wait, heaven works. This is not inactivity. This is holy exchange. A divine negotiation happening behind the veil, not to decide if you will be blessed, but to determine how soon the release shall come. You've been restless. You've been sensing something. The stirring in your spirit is not anxiety, it's spiritual awareness. Your inner man has picked up the frequency of movement in the heavenlies. What felt like silence was actually sacred strategy. What looked like a pause was a preparation for transfer. And now the exchange has begun. The sword is moving, not in wrath, but in precision. It is cutting off what was illegally holding what belongs to you. It is severing ties with what claimed ownership over your future. And in the other hand, the hand of blessing, restoration begins to pour. This is not a reward. It is a return. Heaven is returning what was taken from you unjustly. What was stolen, twisted, buried. It is now being summoned back. But it does not come through noise. It comes through stillness. The blessing descends not when you scream for it, but when you stand in surrender. The sword strikes not when you fight, but when you let God finish what He started. And in that silence, a holy transaction is sealed. The angels are not idle. They are moving with scrolls in their hands. Your name is marked. Your obedience hath been recorded. Your tears have been measured. You are not forgotten. You are scheduled. And even now, angels are negotiating on your behalf. Not with flesh, not with demons, but with the spiritual protocols of justice. Heaven is not lawless. Heaven operates in order. And in this order, the courts have ruled in your favor. This is why you felt an unexplainable tightness, not around your body, but your atmosphere. You are standing in the middle of a sacred shift. You don't see it yet in your finances. You don't see it yet in your family. But in the unseen realm, documents have been signed. The sword has cut the delay. The blessing is now active. And soon, the natural will catch up to the spiritual. Do not mistake this stillness for stagnation. Do not assume this silence is absence. God is not missing. God is moving, quietly, intentionally, completely. And what He is doing cannot be undone. What He is establishing cannot be shaken. The chains are being severed. The blockages are being broken. And what is returning to your life will be marked by evidence, not just emotion. The sword and the blessing both are at work. One to destroy what was never meant to follow you. The other to restore what you didn't even know was missing. You are in the middle of the divine exchange, and nothing shall interrupt it now. Be still, says the Spirit again, for the exchange is nearly complete. Hold your peace. Rest your mind. Heaven is finishing what it started. Type I receive heaven's exchange in the comments. Blessing code 5050 is now surrounding your spiritual atmosphere. Justice hath been activated, not by men, but by the decree of the Most High. Not through vengeance, but through divine reversal. This is not the work of your hand. It is the move of heaven. The same God who watched your private suffering has now stood up. The same God who allowed the silence is now speaking. And when heaven speaks, nothing remains the same. The scales have tipped. The line has been drawn. The gavel has fallen in the spirit. And every injustice is now under judgment. You need to know, this battle was never just about endurance. It was about exposure. It was about heaven revealing who you were and who they were. And now, the sword that once hovered silently is swinging, but not against you. It is moving swiftly toward the very things that tried to silence, sabotage, and suffocate your destiny. Every trap set for you is being reversed. Every curse whispered about you is returning to its sender, not in malice but in justice. Because heaven does not overlook the cries of the righteous. What they meant for harm, God is now turning into your visibility. Every time they misrepresented you, God was gathering the evidence. Every word spoken in secret has been brought into divine court. Every betrayal, every manipulation, every distortion, it has all been measured. And the Lord, who is righteous and just, says, "Now I will repay." But this repayment is not just spiritual compensation. It is a holy reversal. The lies will turn to truth. The shame will turn to honor. The rejection will turn to divine recognition. The doors they shut in your face are now being reopened by heaven's hand alone, and no man will get the glory. What they tried to bury is now becoming a banner. What they tried to hide is now a trumpet. What they mocked will become your mantle. And those who threw stones will have to watch the oil fall on your head. This reversal is not petty. It is prophetic. It has nothing to do with revenge, and everything to do with restoration. God is not just making it right. He's making it public. You were tested in private, but now the recompense will be revealed in open view. Those who counted you out will now see your rise. Not so you can boast, but so they will know. God is not to be mocked. And for every delay you endured, every door that didn't open, every promise that felt like it passed you by, there is now a divine rerouting taking place. The blessing is circling back. The favor is returning. What was withheld is being released. What was wrongly given to others is being reassigned. This is not about opportunity. This is about order. And heaven is placing things back where they belong. Michael now stands behind you, not as a divider, but as a defender. The sword is guarding your path. No more unnecessary warfare. No more unauthorized voices in your life. The blessing has not just been loosed, it has been cleared. And no weapon formed against you shall prosper. No tongue raised against you shall stand. This is the justice of God, and it is final. You are being publicly restored for what you privately endured. You are being publicly rewarded for what you privately released. The divine reversal has begun, and it cannot be stopped. Type "I stand in God's justice" in the comments. Blessing code 6868 is surrounding your name in the Spirit. You have endured the sword, now receive the blessing. The test is complete. The judgment hath been rendered. And the Spirit of the Lord now speaks one final word over your life. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. Heaven does not waste pain. Heaven does not ignore endurance. Heaven never forgets obedience when it's offered in the dark. And now, with fire in his eyes and glory in his voice, the Lord says, "It is finished." Now it begins. You walk through the hidden place of testing. You withstood the false accusations, the closed doors, the spiritual pressure that tried to break your resolve. But you did not break, you bent. And that bending, that bowing, that surrender became the very thing that birthed your next season. You passed not because you fought your enemies, but because you trusted your God. You are not being rewarded. You are being recognized. Archangel Michael now walks with you, not as a figure of division, but as a witness of your victory. He saw the nights you cried and didn't curse. He saw the moments you could have fought back and didn't. He watched as you passed each trial, not with noise but with silence. And now he walks beside you, as one assigned to preserve what you've been given. The sword no longer hovers in decision. It rests in assurance. The blessing no longer waits in silence. It falls in fullness. This is not just the end of warfare. It is the beginning of rain. You will move with greater clarity. You will speak with greater way. You will walk with greater authority. What once tried to break you will now bow before the strength formed in you. This is not pride. It is heaven's declaration. You are not just restored. You are released. Not just covered. You are commissioned. Let the winds carry this word into every corner of your being. You are covered. You are chosen. You are aligned. You don't need to fear what's ahead. The path has been carved, and the angels go before you. The battle is not behind you. It is beneath you now. What once sat on your shoulders is now under your feet. So rise with courage. Walk with clarity. Speak with boldness. You are not the same. The sword tested you. The silence proved you. The blessing has found you. This is your divine affirmation. I am covered. I am chosen. I am aligned. Type IT is sealed in the comments if you receive this closing word. Blessing code 0000 is finalizing your breakthrough. As this final word settles in your spirit, let your heart remember, this mission is not about a voice. It's about the voice of God reaching His people. If this message has touched you, it's because heaven is speaking, not just to you, but through you. When you give, you're not just helping a platform. You're opening a portal of truth for someone else who is still waiting for their word, their shift, their sword, or their blessing. Like rivers watering a harvest you may never see, your support breaks spiritual famine for others. And God sees it. God honors it. And God multiplies it. As you have done unto the least of these, you have done unto me, says the Lord. Let your giving today echo through eternity. Stand with us in this assignment. Give through super thanks. Become a YouTube channel member, or plant your seed via PayPal. The link is in the video description. Your obedience to give carries eternal weight. Don't delay. Release what's in your hand, and watch what God puts in yours.